Hi, thanks for using my court coach. I'm Sarah, and I'll be your instructor today as we talk about the ex parte application to either issue, modify, or terminate an earnings assignment order, also known as Form FL-430. As with all our court forms, you want to fill in your identifying case caption information at the top. This is a form that you would use if you wanted to submit a request to either issue, modify, or terminate a garnishment. That can be either a FL-195, the income withholding for support that you would use if child support's at issue. And with that form, you can also include spousal support orders, or if there's no child support, that would be the FL-435, the earnings assignment order for spousal or partner support. So first you want to start off by indicating what it is that you want the court to do. Then you're going to list the orders that you're asking for the garnishment for. So if there's child support, you're going to mark 1 and list the children's names, date of birth, the amount ordered to be paid, who it's to be paid by, and who it's to be paid to. If there's any arrears that were included in that order, you would include that in F and include the monthly amount, or I'm sorry, the total amount and the date that that total amount was determined. Then below that, if there's any spousal support ordered that should be included in this garnishment or termination of garnishment, mark the box that says spousal support, or if there's family support, you could mark that box as well. You're going to, again, list the date of the order, who is the party that is to be paying the support, and who is the recipient of support. And again, if there are arrears, then you want to include that total amount of arrears and the date that that finding was made. If there's any interest that was included in these lines above, you want to mark box 3 and then indicate if the figures above include interest or not include interest at the legal rate. Then below that, if there is any past due support payments, mark box 4 and indicate that you did give a notice to seek an earnings assignment order. That is if there was a stay of the earnings assignment order in place, because there needs to be some showing that there was not compliance with the order, and that's why you're now asking to lift the stay. If that was never made in order, you could just say waived and just say that a stay was never put into place. Next, if there has not been any updated or recent earnings assignment orders that were issued for support after July 1st, 1990, you would check box 5. That just lets the court know that we're talking about some really old support orders. Item number 6, and this is where we're going to have to pay attention to what is the relief we're asking for. If you are asking for a garnishment to be issued, we deal with item 6. And then you're going to list the amounts that are going to be included in your garnishment and what those amounts are for. Again, this should match your garnishment that you're submitting. You should also submit concurrently with this form a garnishment form, again, your FL-195 or your FL-435, depending on your particular matter. If you are asking for an existing garnishment to be modified, for child support only, and again, that's going to be your FL-195, mark box 7, and then you're going to give the reasons why. Either one of the children covered by that child support order has emancipated, meaning that they are at the age of 18 and are no longer in high school, or one of the other circumstances that can lead to emancipation that are included in your child support order. That would be box A. If the order was just for support arrears and they are paid in full, including interest, mark box B. If the support order has changed, the support order itself has been modified, mark 7C, and then include what the new orders are. If the local child support agency is no longer enforcing the current child support obligation and is only collecting and enforcing arrears owing, mark box D. If there's any other reason that you think is significant, mark box E and explain in other. If this is a request to terminate just the child support part, and so again, we're talking about our FL-195, then you need to mark box 8 and explain, or mark the box below that explains why the support earnings assignment order should be terminated. So either there is no longer a current support order, the child is emancipated, and even if that is the case, I would mark all that apply. And in fact, it says that up there. So if the child has reached age 18 and completed the 12th grade, you want to list the date that last day of school was. If the child has reached 18 and is no longer a full-time high school student, then you want to list the date of birth as of when. And if the child has reached age 19, mark that box. If the child has passed away, mark the date they passed away on. If the child has married, list the date that the child married on. If the child went on active duty with the armed forces of the military, go ahead and list the date that they entered the military. If the child has been legally emancipated, mark box 8I and name the child that has legally emancipated, give the details. If there's some sort of case number that goes with that, I would provide that information as well. And in fact, with all of these, I always tell my clients, when you're submitting this form, don't just state, even though this form is being signed under penalty of perjury, that the child has emancipated. If they've graduated high school, include either a transcript or a diploma. If the child has reached age 18, I always think it's a good idea to include a copy of the birth certificate. You never want a clerk to reject your request to modify this, especially when money is at hand, or terminate the child support earnings assignment order because they can't think outside of the box or look at the file to see what the birth date of the child is in the file. So as much information as you can provide to the clerk to make this easier for them, you want to do so. And then 8, again, these are reasons to terminate the child support earnings order. If the previous stay, if there was a stay and it was terminated, and you believe it's improper, mark box J and explain why it was improper. K, if the state disbursement unit has not been able to deliver the support payments to the recipient of support because they have not notified the state disbursement unit of a change in his or her address, and it's been more than 6 months, mark box K. That's probably unlikely to happen these days, just because state disbursement unit usually does a direct deposit on payment. But if that does apply to you, you can mark K. And L would be other, if there's some other explanation for why you think the child support garnishment should be terminated, mark L. So we just went over modification and termination of garnishments for child support. Now we're going to talk about spousal support or partner support, family support. So 9 deals with modification of spousal support. If you want to modify the existing spousal support order, then mark box 9 and explain the reasons why. And if it's because the support orders have been paid in full, including interest, mark 9A. If it's because the support order has been modified, mark box 9B. If there's another explanation, then mark box 9C and explain in there next to other what that reason is. If you are seeking to terminate a spousal support garnishment, then you want to mark box 10 and again include the reason why. A already is saying that past due support has been paid in full, so we are left with B, there is no current support order. Maybe you had an order that the support was supposed to terminate as of a certain date and that date has been met. 10C, the supported spouse has remarried or registered a domestic partnership on such and such date, include that date. Again, good practice to include a copy of the marriage certificate as well so the clerk can verify the data that you're providing. D, if the supported spouse died, include the date that that death took place, include a copy of the death certificate. And 10E is just if the support order terminated on a certain date, I would mark 10E and 10B in that situation. If the previous wage garnishment was, the stay was improperly terminated, you could mark that 10F and explain why. And again, we have the same issue we have above with the child support. If the state disbursement unit has been unable to deliver a payment or the employer has for 6 months or longer due to the failure of the support recipient updating their address, mark 10G. H, any other reason that you think the spousal support order should be terminated, you can specify that there. At the bottom, you want to fill in your name, sign and date this form, submit it with your modified garnishment, whether that's going to be a new garnishment, a modified one or amended one, or a terminated one. But submit that concurrently with this, as well as any supporting documents that we went over to prove whatever fact it is you're claiming to the court as the reason to issue, modify, or terminate the earnings assignment order. And you are done. I hope you found this helpful. Good luck.